Ladies and gentlemen, our program includes a lot of very talented people, and Teresa's pretty high up there on that list. And another hand for Teresa. Not only is she a great singer, she's absolutely wonderful to work with. So if you can support her and have her at one of your events, if anybody's interested, Teresa is absolutely wonderful. My name is Connie Boland. 25 years ago, my late husband and I decided that it would be a really nice thing to put an airplane out here and have a veteran or a restorer or an owner speak to people about how they operated, what they did, and if they flew in the war or maintained one in the war. We thought that would be a good presentation. Obviously, that was something that everybody agreed with, because here we are 25 years later, and we have grown to a point where we have a very professional production team. We have Sleeping Dog Productions, air-to-air TV, and we are live streaming all of the programs this week that we have done, 2 a day, and of course we'll have 1 today because of the Veterans Parade a little later on. So with that, veterans in the audience, could I have you stand and be recognized? We thank you for your service. Thank you. Our veterans and our freedoms in this country are because of the people who fight for their country, whether it's actually as a veteran or as a volunteer in another role. Here at Oshkosh, we have thousands of volunteers, literally, who help us put on this program for everybody. So to them, we also say thank you. But thank you. I'm standing here on the Scott's Miracle-Gro logo. Without their support, we wouldn't be able to do this production to the level that we do. So Jim Hagedorn, Scott's Miracle-Gro Company, I say thank you to them once again. And this aircraft here is owned by Fagen Fighters WWII Museum in Granite Falls, Minnesota. Ron and Diane Fagen have been huge supporters of Warbirds in Review, and they're the reason that we have this building behind us. So to Ron and Diane, a special thank you for that. They give this production crew, yes, thank you to Ron and Diane. And in addition to providing us the building, when I say, could we get one of your airplanes? Could we do this, Warbirds in Review, because they are such significant airplanes? They always say, yep, we're in. And to Rod Lewis and the Lewis Foundation, a little eye candy this morning with the Wildcat. Ron and Diane own a Wildcat, but it's in for annual right now, so let's just bring in another one. And Rod says, sure, yeah, I'll put my airplane out here so you can see that as well. Enough from me. I will ask you to direct your attention to the Jumbotron, and we'll watch the intro video that was put together by Scott Guyat and his team at Sleeping Dog. I know you will enjoy that. And then General Ed McElhenney, a retired brigadier general with the Kansas Air National Guard. He'll come out here to be your moderator and introduce our guest. And we have a very special surprise for you today. So please, to the video.
Well, I say we get this thing started.
The Imperial Japanese battleship Yamato and her sister ship Musashi were the largest and most heavily armed battleships ever built. More than 860 feet long, each ship could fire 18-inch, 3,000-pound explosive shells more than 26 miles. Both ships were sunk by U.S. Navy dive bombers and torpedo bombers near the end of World War II. Curtiss SB2C Helldivers played a major role in the destruction of Musashi and Yamato. That was a celebrated achievement for an aircraft with a troubled past. Curtiss-Wright Corporation had introduced its first dive bomber in 1928 by redesigning the Curtiss Falcon, a carrier-based biplane fighter. They gave the new airplane a shorter and stronger fuselage, dive brakes, and the 450 horsepower Pratt & Whitney radial engine. They called it Helldiver, but it was slower than Navy fighters coming into use at the time, and after less than a year in service, it was withdrawn from Navy squadrons. In 1932, Curtiss tried again with a high-wing monoplane dive bomber, but it too was slow, and in one dive bombing test, its wing structure failed, though the pilots survived. Rebuilt as a biplane and designated SBC-3, it entered service in 1937 on the U.S. carriers Yorktown, Saratoga, and Enterprise. Equipped with the larger 950 horsepower engine, it became the Curtiss SBC-4, the last biplane to serve the U.S. military. The Douglas SBD Dauntless, developed in the 1930s, was the U.S. Navy's primary dive bomber at the start of World War II. SBDs earned fame, delivering fatal blows to Japanese aircraft carriers at the Battle of Midway in June 1942, and they served throughout the war. The Dauntless was a good dive bomber and scout plane, but it was slow and vulnerable to enemy fighters. The U.S. Navy wanted a replacement. Curtiss delivered a new prototype, the XB2C, in 1940, with high expectations. Unofficially named the Helldiver, it crashed after an engine failure, was rebuilt, and crashed again when its wing came apart. A second prototype crashed while pulling out of a dive when its left wing and horizontal tail departed from the aircraft. The program might have been canceled, but Curtiss made enough improvements to convince the Navy to accept the design. More changes were required before the Helldiver entered Navy and Marine squadrons. Pilots complained of poor handling and stall characteristics. One squadron commander wrote that except for folding wings, the Helldiver offered little improvement over the Dauntless. Late modifications, long delays in production and delivery, and a scathing U.S. Senate report on Helldiver production contributed to the decline of Curtiss as a company. Still, the Helldiver was faster than the Dauntless. Armed with radar and rockets, it played a key role in the Battle of the Philippine Sea. It could locate and sink enemy ships without the stress of an 80-degree diving attack. By the end of World War II, the Helldiver had become the main dive bomber and attack aircraft in U.S. Navy carrier squadrons.
Away we go.
All right. This is us, I guess.
Gentlemen,
Okay.
front and center.
Oops. Oops. Bad.
I know there's
This
one
came
more
off.
in here. Uh-oh.
Okay.
We're having technical difficulties at the moment. He'll be out shortly.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
He's good. Come on, Ron.
There we go.
All right. Zippy, let's go. All right, follow me. Thanks, Connie. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Brigadier General Retired Ed McElhenney. Grab a seat, Ron. Yeah, it doesn't matter. And yeah, Captain, you can remain right there, okay? Don't go anywhere. This is my aide today. As I said, I'm Ed McElhenney. I've done these moderations now for a while, and you may not recognize me. Normally I'm out here in my civilian clothes. I am retired, but we're doing something a little bit different this morning, and we're honoring a Navy veteran who flew this kind of airplane. And with that, we'll get into the meat of the program later, but this is more important. The reason I'm wearing my uniform today is to honor this past veteran, and my young captain here is here to assist also. But on my left over here, we've got Ray Fowler. He is the pilot, let's see, one of two pilots, is that right, checked out in this airplane right now. A pilot of considerable experience. I'll make mention already. He wears this uniform on a semi-regular basis also. He's a member of the Montgomery, the Montgomery Air National Guard down there. He's an F-35 pilot. Let's see, he's an Airbus pilot. He's a Warbird pilot. Yeah, you leave the keys out, he's going to fly it and do a good job flying it. So Ray, thanks so much for being here. And then you heard Connie say thank you to the Fagens and what they've done for this program. Ron and Diane, they're both good friends of mine, and well, that's the guy sitting over here right now. Diane unfortunately can't be here because she's taking care of a sick puppy dog, but Ron is here, and that's the guy, so yes, absolutely. Thank you, Ron, for being here. And all my presentations, I always thank the veterans. This time it's going to be a little bit different in that I'm going to ask again. Connie's already done it once, but I'm going to do it again, and you'll understand why here in a second. I'm going to say, all the veterans out there in the audience, please rise and stay standing. So please rise, veterans. Thank you. Stay where you are right now. If those of you others want to stand to honor this past lieutenant, you can do that also. But with this, I'm going to read the citation. Attention to order. Citation to accompany the presentation of the Navy Cross to Lieutenant J.G. Kenneth Holmes, United States Navy Reserve, for extraordinary heroism in operations against the enemy while serving as a pilot of a carrier-based Navy dive bomber in Air Group 8, attached to the USS Bunker Hill CV-17 during an attack against the Japanese fleet in the Marianas Islands during the First Battle of the Philippine Sea on 20 June 1944. Flying at extreme combat radius in a strike against major hostile fleet units, Lieutenant J.G. Holmes flew over the assigned area in bold defiance of fierce enemy aerial opposition and a terrific barrage of anti-aircraft fire sent up from guns of all calibers, including main batteries, and pressing home his own vigorous attack at low altitude. Scored a direct hit on a hostile carrier of the Choki class by his airmanship and cool courage in the face of tremendous odds, Lieutenant J.G. Holmes contributed materially to the infliction of extensive and costly damage to the Japanese fleet and upheld the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. Zippy, it's yours. Thank you. Thank you, veterans. Thank you, everybody. Please be seated. I'm going to continue now with some verbiage that was written by Tom Saluso, president of the Museum of the Great Wars in Kingman, Arizona, and that is where that Navy Cross resides most of the time. Things have changed here a little bit, and I'll just read this first, and you'll get a little better idea. Tom says, good morning. Welcome to Warbird Review. Yep. As we look at all those wonderful warbirds, I often wonder about the young men who we sent off to battle in them. If one watches Masters of the Air attack scenes in Midway, they just get a small glimpse into the infernal of hell that generations of our brave have fought through. Who were these brave men, and what were their stories? You just heard about one of them. Today I would like to share one such story about one such man. Our cast of characters is large as it includes the largest collection of aircraft carriers to ever face off against one another. On one side, the United States Fifth Fleet had a total of 15 carriers, almost 900 aircraft. On the other, the Japanese Mobile Fleet, 9 carriers, 450 airplanes, with an additional 300 land-based aircraft in support. The place is the Philippine Sea near the Mariana Islands, the date 20 June 1944. The previous day had seen wave after wave of Japanese aircraft attempting to attack the Fifth Fleet. Those had been defeated with devastating losses to the Japanese, with fairly light losses on the American side. That part of the battle went so badly for the Japanese that it would be called the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. That evening, the Japanese licked their wounds, and today started off with both sides trying to locate the other's fleet. Pilots and gunners stood by waiting for the loudspeaker to blare, "Pilots, man your planes." It wasn't until 3:40 in the afternoon that a confirmed sighting of the Japanese fleet, complete with size, speed, and location, was made. Despite it being late in the day and at maximum range of the strike force, the decision was made to launch the attack. Aboard the fleet carrier, Lieutenant J.G. Kenneth Holmes was listening for those words, ordering him to his plane. Kenneth was a 24-year-old California native, studied agriculture before the war, joined the Navy in '42, been aboard the Bunker Hill for about 3 months. He'd flown combat missions before, but never anything quite like this. Got into his Curtiss Helldiver, Pratt & Whitney R2600, was already being warmed up, swinging the 4-bladed Curtiss electric prop with ease. Helped by a ground crew, he got situated in the cockpit while his tail gunner, aviation gunner's mate Marvin, strapped in behind him. With the carrier pointed in the wind, chocks were pulled, 8-ton aircraft lumbered down the deck, joined up in formation, headed into the history books. Shortly after the 240 aircraft of the first wave were cleared of the decks, it was discovered that the Japanese fleet was 60 miles further west than previously thought. This was well over 300 miles away and well beyond the safe distance to assure a successful return. With this information, the second-hand wave was withheld from launching, but the first wave was not recalled and continued towards the enemy. The American aircraft found the Japanese fleet just before sunset. The enemy was able to scramble 35 fighters, which were quickly dealt with by the Hellcats. Hold on here. Escorting the bombers. This, however, cleared the way for the Japanese anti-aircraft fire to open up without fear of hitting their own aircraft. While not particularly accurate, it was a tremendous volume of fire, with everything from main batteries to light machine guns firing at the Americans. At this point, Kenneth selected his target, a Japanese heavy cruiser. From a fairly low altitude, he attacked. Despite flying through a wall of Japanese lead, he pressed home his attack, scoring a direct hit on his target. With the attack over, he and other crews began the journey into the darkness heading east. Undoubtedly, the mixture was leaned as far as possible, and eyes were glued to the windscreen with hopes of seeing the fleet. Aboard the USS Hornet, Admiral Joseph Clark had a hard decision to make. He knew the importance of being blacked out, but he knew it would be almost impossible for his returning air crews to find their ship. With that in mind, he ordered the searchlights turned on, pointed straight up as a beacon. The commander of the Fifth Fleet backed up this decision. Soon every ship was illuminated. Picket ships went so far as to fire star shells to guide the planes home. As the aircraft began to make contact with the fleet, many had no choice but to ditch. Many went down in groups to better facilitate being rescued. Planes were allowed to land on any available deck, although for many, their first night carrier landing resulted in a crash. Kenneth and his gunner spotted the fleet, made a success, and made for a light carrier, the USS Cabot. Kenneth was able to successfully land his Helldiver without damage. He was the only Helldiver from Bunker Hill to be successfully recovered that night. In all, 80 American aircraft either forced a ditch or crashed into the carriers, although the majority of the crews were saved. An additional 20 aircraft were lost to Japanese fighters and anti-aircraft fire. This battle effectively ended Japanese naval air power in the Pacific. The next time the few remaining Japanese carriers would sail only would be with a handful of aircraft to serve as a diversion. For his actions in the finest traditions of naval service, Lieutenant J.G. Kenneth Holmes was awarded the Navy Cross, which is what you heard today. He would ultimately fly 41 combat missions in the Helldiver, also earning a Distinguished Flying Cross and 6 air medals. returned home to California after the war, settled down with a wife, 3 kids, taught high school, industrial arts, and retired in 1971. Kenneth passed away in 2019 at the age of 101 years old. Today we have the honor of telling a story, and by telling a story, we are telling stories of the men who repaired the planes, loaded the weapons, sailed the ships. We tell the stories of Rosie the Riveter, of the Boy Scout who collected scrap metal, the Junior Red Cross girl who sewed personal effect bags for the sailors overseas. Through this story, through this medal, through this aircraft before us, we get to honor the men and women of the greatest generation. On behalf of all of us from the Museum of the Great Wars, Fagen Fighters, and the P4Y Privateer Group, thank you. And as I said, that came from the president, and he wanted me to read that. So I'll say now, Tom Saluso, thank you very much for your words. So, thank you. I'll get a little more history on that Navy Cross. That Navy Cross that resides there in Kingman, it started its journey with a young lady. Where is she? Right there. Jill Granetsky. Jill, stand up for a second. Jill is the caretaker of that medal right now. And it started in Las Vegas, she said, with an airline. And the airline was Southwest. And I'll ask Corey. Corey, please stand up. Corey is representative of Southwest Airlines. And they did an absolute first-class job of transporting that medal on one of their airplanes from Las Vegas here to Milwaukee. Jill took over after that, but she said it was impressive. It was the medal was in the cockpit. The captain announced it. It was their special airplane. The red, white, and blue was at the gate. They flew it in, and as I remember, I think, Jill, you said that, hey, it came in and the water cannons went off. So the water cannons encircled the airplane as they came in. So, Corey, I say thank you so much for honoring this past veteran. Okay, and with that, I'm going to say the passing of the medal here, it went from my age, Zippy, thank you, Zippy, in his authentic naval uniform, and I gave it to Ron because it's going to be residing at his museum very shortly, because Ray is going to be the pilot who takes it there. So I gave it to Ron. Ron gave it to Ray, and I would estimate, probably in an hour and 15, 20 minutes or so, that medal is going to be on its way to the Fagen Museum, flown by Ray. So that was the sequence of events that we had here today, and I thank you, Ray, for your transport, and Ron, I thank you for being the caretaker for, and I'm not even sure, how long do you think you're going to have it up there? Do you know?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. It's going to be at the Fagen Fighters Museum for 3 weeks up there, and then it will be returned to Kingman, from what I understand. And Corey, you can help me there. Southwest, there you go. Southwest is going to do it again.
Hey,
so thank you. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, it's going to be the 4-engine Navy privateer that's here, World War II privateer that's out here in the ramp. It's coming to Granite Falls next week.
Okay.
And it'll remain there until our air event, and then we will be transporting the medal to the Navy privateer.
Okay.
Because its home base is Arizona, and they're taking it home to the museum.
Outstanding.
From Granite Falls.
Okay.
Yep, that's how it's going.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, so now you got an idea of this airplane and what people have done with this airplane way back when, and now we'll get into the nuts and bolts. And Ron is directly responsible for it being here. We already thanked Rod for that airplane being here, but the way it'll work is I'm going to talk to Ron a little bit about, hey, why he got it, where he got it, how long he's had it, how long it took to get in this condition. It was an award winner last year, too, as I remember, right?
It was, even though it was 3 weeks from being completely finished, we got it here.
Okay, but it's completely finished now, and so, yeah, maybe more awards are coming. And then we'll talk to this guy over here on my left, and he can talk a little bit about ups and downs, lefts and rights, and how it is to fly. There aren't many out there flying, and I think this is it the only one?
That's number 2.
Number
it's
2.
actually number 3.
Now
Okay,
there's 3.
now there's 3 of them flying. But Ray is probably, one of the high-time Helldiver pilots right now. So we'll talk to Ray a little bit about flying the airplane and some of the nuts and bolts about it. So that's kind of the sequence. And so I'll start with you, Ron, and just say, okay, how did it get here? Is this something that you wanted all along, or was this something that fell in your lap? What made you decide, hey, I want a Helldiver?
Well, we told our story last year, but this year we were going to have Don McPherson here with the presentation. Don McPherson is 103, and he is the oldest living ace. And on Wednesday, he wasn't able to make it. So anyway, we're here, and my story is...
Well, he was a Wildcat pilot, though, right?
He was a Wildcat pilot.
Wildcat
on
pilot,
the ethics.
Okay. Yep.
On the ethics, and he'd been on this airplane. But anyway, so this airplane... A lot of people have heard the story, but this airplane, goes back 17, 18, 19 years ago now, and I looking at the trade plane, and I looked in there, and it says, own possibly the second flying Helldiver in the world. It says, most parts, easy restoration. and I said, oh. Okay, I bought it sight unseen. I said, where do I send the check? So I bought it sight unseen, and there was a nice guy, but there's nothing true to that statement.
Where was it located?
It was in Virginia. It was recovered off the end of an air base there, where it sat for years and years and years. And it come with several semis of pieces and parts. It was all there. And some stuff was terrible, and some stuff was great. But what was nice about this particular Helldiver project, there was no corrosion on anything because it laid in the nice dry area for all those years. So, but anyway, the bottom line, it took us 17 years to restore it. We actually quit 1 year and gave up. And we said, well, we can't give up, so we finished it, and I'm really glad we did. And because it was the number 2 Helldiver flying in the world, and now there's another one flying. There's 3 of us now, but it's a huge airplane, and I'm really glad that we did get it restored and got her flying.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. Obviously, we appreciate it being here and your efforts in that regard. But yeah, I'll say it's got a rather tainted history, I guess, not this particular airplane, but the design itself. And right. Ray can jump in here and talk about this. But this airplane, when it was first designed, was just, my dad was a aviation machinist mate in the Navy. He's 102 years old now, and still kicking. He's kind of a grumpy old man, but that's just to his son, I think. That's what he is. But anyway, he worked more on Hellcats and Wildcats and Corsairs. And I mentioned to him, I said, did you ever, work on a Helldiver? And here he is. This is what, a year ago now. I asked him the question, and he's going, the Helldiver, and the wheels are turned, the smoke's coming out of his ears, and he goes, oh yeah, and I gave him the numbers. I said, it's the SB2C, 3C is what it is, or 2C, excuse me. And he goes, yeah. He says, that's a son of a bitch second class. Those were the words he used, okay? And this is from a mechanic who used to work on them, So he didn't have a high regard for the airplane. I'll just ask Ray, any other, they made a lot of changes, to make it flyable. Tweaks, who was it? I guess Steve Hinton Sr. yesterday was telling me about the P-38, and it was kind of the same. He said, hey, in war, you do what you have to do to make the thing flyable and usable, and they did that to the P-38 also, but I think they did that to this airplane, and Ray may know more about some of the tweaks that they did to it.
And I think they have figured it out. I actually called Steve because he's one of the newest Helldiver pilots with the 3rd aircraft that's flying, and of course he's the most accomplished warbird flyer in the world. So he called me and we were talking about it. And by the way, I am no expert, so I do have a fair amount of time in this airplane since it's flown. But the Commemorative Air Force has been flying one for years. So those guys are pros, and that's where I've seen it fly to other events. But since I've been in this airplane, of course, all pilots lie, you know that, but I have not made a bad landing in this airplane yet. It does not make a bad landing. So when I was talking to Steve, I told him, I said, the airplane lands like it's on a bed of pillows. And of course, I'm sitting here thinking, I don't want to sound braggadocious, like I really know how to land the airplane, because I don't. I'm still figuring it out myself. But Steve actually came back with feedback, and he goes, man, you were right. It just absolutely is so smooth. Now, obviously, we're not landing the airplane at the weights that we were flying. We're certainly not landing them on the carrier where they would have been very slow. And it's just they did figure out the design, and much of the airplanes in the day, like the Corsair. The Corsair was a horrible carrier-based airplane in fact, that's why they gave them to the Marines. Same with this airplane. Once they could figure out to make the airplane stick to the deck once they touched down, it obviously was very successful. But it flies like it looks. It is a wonderful flying airplane. Hats off to Ron. I do love it. If you guys are doing a restoration, I think Ron is a sucker for these ads that say quick restoration. So if you guys want another airplane restored, just run an ad in the thing and say easy restoration, and Ron will probably call and buy it on the spot, because it's a common tale, I think, for a few airplanes. But over the years, I have been very blessed to come out to their events, which are spectacular in Granite Falls, and I watch this airplane being rebuilt. So every time I see an airplane being rebuilt, I always say, man, I really want to test fly that. And most of the time, I'm just hoping. I don't expect the phone to ring. But Ron called and said, hey, you're ready to fly the Helldiver? And I'm like, yes, I am. So I was thrilled to get the call to be the first person to put air under this one.
You were the first one, okay?
Yes.
So
I say that. I was not the first one. So we brought in one of the CAF guys, Ed Vesley. He's really the highest time guy. So he put the first test flight on the airplane and made sure it ran like a Helldiver, which was great. And he has the time in the airplane. And then after that, I climbed in for Flight 2 and flew off the test flights. And like Ron said, we flew it straight to Oshkosh. Once we got to the 10th of time over Granite Falls, we headed over to Oshkosh last year with it.
Okay, and you said that other guy flew it first, okay, but then for you, you get into the books first. It's like any airplane, right? You sit there and say, hey, you got to get systems first. There's no simulator for this, so you get into the books and a checklist. Is there emergency procedures checklist? Tell me about.
There is, one thing I love to make fun of the Navy, being an Air Force guy, of course, and thanks to Ron, I think I have more Navy airplanes on my pilot's license than I do Army Air Corps or other airplanes. So I don't know how I feel about that. It's kind of conflicting. But, the one thing about the Navy I will say is they very much did make the airplanes ensign-proof. So for the most part, you can climb into a Navy airplane, including the Helldiver, and things just make sense. They put things and they tell you, the gear is up and down. You can read on how to fold the wings. You can literally, all the systems are very simple. Fuel is off and on, whereas you get in some of the Army Air Corps airplanes, sometimes I think the engineers were a little complicated, and you have to pay a little more attention in like a P-47 or a P-38 with the fuel system. It's very complicated. So I guess as bad as I hate to give credit to the Navy, they did a very good job on that regard. But this airplane, there's really not a lot of surprises. And I love talking to some of the, over the years, the veterans. They flew everything, they were 19 years old. So, sometimes these things will humble you. So you have to have a healthy respect for them. They are high-performance airplanes. But you also have to remind yourself they gave them to 19-year-olds with 100 hours of flying time. Now, they wrecked a lot of airplanes back then, too, and they just gave them another airplane. So I don't think Ron would be too happy after his 18-year restoration if I tore his up.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Say, Ron, just start over, and then I'll be back when you get it back flying. So so you do have to pay attention. But it flies like it looks. It flies like a big Cub, and surprisingly fast. It's a fast airplane. So I'm going to race Ron home. He's flying the P-40, so we'll see who wins.
Yeah, and I got to ask in that regard, too. Ron, are you checked out in this yet? And if not, why not?
I'm probably not going to get checked out in it.
Okay.
Just because I know the emergency procedure on a few, and I don't want to learn any more.
Yeah, okay.
I'm getting too old.
Yeah.
But when you got young guys like this, I consider Ray one of the top 5 Warbird pilots in the country, and so I know it's in good, safe hands. Anything can happen, of course. And but we want to take good care of it, and I want it in the professional hands.
Yeah, and I got to ask though, you said, yeah, he's top 5, and inside you said, yeah, I'm maybe top 1,000 or something like that. But you're a high-time Warbird pilot. What else are you flying? You flew the P-40 over here, right?
Yeah.
You flew the P-40 here because Connie said, hey, we had some fallout, we need some help, Ron. And he sat there and stood up and said, hey, I'll get a P-40 here. So what else are you flying right now?
Well, I make it simple for myself because my age. I'm not going to tell you how old, but I'm under 100. But I fly the P-40 and the P-51, and then that's the only 2 fighters that I'm currently flying. And then I fly the trainers, the T6, the BTs, and the primary trainer stuff. And I'm not going to complicate myself learning more stuff because I'm too old. Let the young guys fly it.
How many flyable airplanes you got at your museum right now?
Well, I'm not sure. Huh?
Lost count.
Lost 23 maybe.
Okay.
And we don't license everything the same year. We take turns on which ones we give an annual, but most everything flies. Yep.
Yep, and if you all haven't been there, we'll have a little announcement later about the air show that they're going to have, but it's an absolute spectacular museum up there. I would say wagers, maybe not in terms of size, but in terms of cleanliness, in terms of just how it's presented to the Smithsonian. I mean, it is that, and it's Granite Falls, Minnesota, not that far from here, but like I said, there's an air show coming up there shortly, and we'll talk about it. Ray, about this airplane though, it replaced the SBD, right? I mean, that's more or less what they were trying to do, and it's got a big bomb bay, supposed to carry a 1,000-pound bomb, right?
So it can actually carry up to 2,000 pounds internally. So one Mark 13 torpedo. The nice thing about this airplane, if you look at it next to a TBM, they're very similar in weight. See, the TBM is actually a heavier airplane, so that's the heaviest single-engine aircraft of World War II. But this thing did everything a little better, a little faster, had the ability to carry internal bombs, like I said, up to 2,000 pounds. So you could put a mixed match of bombs. Obviously, under the wings, you could put bombs. You could put rockets. Last year, Ron put rockets, which this thing looked pretty awesome. But they took it off before I flew home, which was probably slowed it down. But I thought I'd look pretty cool flying an airplane with rockets hanging under the wing. But yeah, it's just amazing. And of course, like Ron said, they were about 3 weeks to go. He has since added all the guns, so 20-millimeter cannons in the wings, 30 caliber guns for the tail gunner.
Yeah,
it just has some very unique characteristics.
2 20s in the wings, right?
Yes, sir.
And then a 30 in the back. And two 30, yeah. But I got to ask that question because they weren't there last year.
No.
And how do you go about finding guns for a Helldiver?
Well, I just waited for them to come up for sale on the gun shows, and they're 30. Well, right. So they're the right gun for the airplane. I finally found 2 of them.
Okay.
And they're 30 caliber Buffalo guns, heavy machine guns, and these are replicas I got in there. But everything back there is original, but these are replicas, but I have the real guns, and we will shoot them someday when I get all the right permission.
Okay.
But
That's awesome.
So anyway, that'll happen soon. With this year's probably.
So are you going to be the guy back there shooting the guns?
No.
I will
Somebody,
say,
more.
that'll be Joshua, I hope, right?
Joshua probably. Yeah.
So when we left last year,
Yeah.
so the first passenger to get to ride in the airplane was my son, actually last year leaving Oshkosh. So the airplane was designed to fly, obviously, is with a crew of 2. So what you see in the back is actually ballast for weight and balance in the airplane as it sits right now. But the one thing that's very unique about this airplane that you don't think about, when you're sitting in the front, you can't see anything to the back. So it actually has the first internet's in this airplane. There's a cable that runs from front to back that you can pass notes back and forth. So pretty unique, and it makes me think about the pilots and the gunners, certainly in combat, because if your pilot decides to jump out and you're sitting in the back, other than if you see him go flying by, if you can't communicate with him, you're like, I think I just saw a skydiver come past. So I bet that was pretty unique as far as the communications. If you were shot up in an airplane and you couldn't use the intercom system to transfer, and I'm assuming that was certainly only to be used in the case of an emergency if they had to pass something back and forth. But it's also very unique, the back, how the guns collapse in the very back, and it's a very unique system, as a tail gunner in the back of this airplane. So it was great to have my son be the first one, and of course the second one was Don to get to go ride in the airplane as soon as we got it back to Granite Falls to take him, which is certainly one of the top flights that I've had the opportunity to do.
We have a unique opportunity here to say thanks to somebody who rode back there way back when. Well, his son is here, and Paul, where is Paul? Paul Glassner. There he is, over there on the side. Anyway, we'll get more to you later, but at this point, his dad was, and what do you call them? Gunners or navigators, or in the F4 we called them Wizzos. We called them the guy in back, the Gib, and some other nasty stuff. But
Navigator gunner, I think.
But yeah, Paul, we'll get back to you. But yeah, you can answer some of the backseater questions if you will. But his dad was one of the guys who rode in the back here, and yeah, it's nice to have you here. Thank you very much. All right, Ray, you want to walk around for a minute?
Sure.
Just take a look at this thing and point out some of the good stuff, the bad stuff, the ugly stuff about the airplane.
Well, there's nothing ugly about it's Navy, but I am Air Force. What's unique is, like most of the airplanes of the day, they're all hydraulic. So, but what is very unique with this airplane is the slat. So that's purely mechanical, which obviously allows the airplane to slow down, which probably gives you an extra 8 to 10 knots with the slat. So once the gear comes out, these actually come out, and it's purely mechanical when you put the gear down, which is unique.
And they don't float at all. They come out and they stay out.
They come out as the gear go, and they do not float. Okay. Whereas some of the early model airplanes that you would see would have, and certainly like some of the early fighters would have the gravity when you're pulling G's, they would come out as you did that. But other than that, everything else is hydraulic. The wing fold mechanism's hydraulic. The bomb bay doors, of course, are hydraulic for it, and you'll see that as soon as I start. If you're standing around, we get ready to go to Granite Falls today, we'll close those up as soon as we get started on that. Cow flaps, intercoolers, flaps, certainly the gear up and down is hydraulic on the airplane. So, but yeah, it's just, again, there's, it's just very unique in the fact that when you're sitting in the front, you're kind of, you don't have a lot of rearward visibility. So you're really relying on that tail gunner, like with your dad, to keep you alive. When people are rolling in to shoot you, you're pretty oblivious when you're sitting in the front of this thing as far as somebody rolling in to shoot you. So you're pretty glad they're back there.
Motor is Pratt & Whitney 2600?
2600, yeah, sure is. Great airplane, a little more unique. And another thing with probably not very easy to find, Ron, is the Curtiss electric prop that's on this airplane. Very similar to the P-40. So it is an electric actuated propeller, and it works just like a regular propeller when you run it in auto, but you can actually use it in manual, and you can actuate it for the RPM with it as well.
Ron's got something to say.
Oh, yeah. It's one thing that they did getting toward the end of the war to save weight and everything and material. Listen to this, guys. Hollow blades.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hard to get to. But again, for the most part, it is a very simplistic design. Some of the early ones you'll see like on the dive flaps with the holes in the dive flaps. They ended up obviously want a stable platform whenever they're diving. So just like in the Dauntless, which the Dauntless is very, SBD slow but deadly. It was very slow. This airplane is, once they figured out the early models didn't have the perforated dive flaps and slats to put when you put it into a dive. So that's very smooth. The one thing I'll say that is incredibly unique about this airplane, when I read the manual on it before I test flew it, is there's almost no restrictions on this airplane for aerobatics. And I mean inverted spins, loops, rolls. Now, if you look at it, it doesn't do rolls very well or loops or anything else. Actually, it loops. But it is, from a lot of airplanes you fly, like you get in the TBM, it is very restricted in what you can do. And this airplane, you can do pretty much in it.
So you've done it all then?
We did what we really are going to do with it in today's world. So I don't, inverted spins, I don't think Ron wants me doing inverted spins in his airplane. But it's not restricted to it, which I thought, some 19-year-old that had 100 hours, like, hey, let's see what it does inverted. So that's not me. I've gotten older and wiser where I don't do that unless Ron tells me to, and we don't.
How about
do that.
wartime G limitations? What was the G limitation wartime?
It's still very. I'd have to look at the numbers, but it's actually stressed to about 5 Gs. 5 to 6 Gs on the pullout, and the -2, -3. You'd never put any negative Gs on it, but it is a very well built airplane. I mean, all of these airplanes were so well built for combat, and that's why they. For the most part, unless they were totally shot up, had a good chance of getting their crews home.
Mm-hmm. And just if you come down afterwards and want to take a look at this thing, I'll say, don't touch, because everything is just immaculate here. I mean, you're going to look at this thing and go, oh my gosh, I mean, there's like no grease, there's no oil, and Ron, I compliment you and your maintenance folks because all those airplanes kind of look like this, and but this one in particular, last year when I walked around it, I'm just going, you got to be kidding me. And I think last year the only difference was the gun. You didn't have the gun in last year. Everything else was pretty much ready to go. So,
Pretty close, yep.
Yeah. How about in the cockpit? Cockpit pretty roomy, big?
It's very roomy. Wonderful airplane to climb in and fly. A lot of room, and everything, like I said, hats off the Navy. Everything's laid out very, very well. So you find everything very easily. And again, if any one of you that are pilots or brought your airplane, if you sat in this airplane for a few minutes, you would figure out where all the switches are, and you could probably be the one taking it back to Granite Falls today.
How about approach speed? What kind of approach speed?
Really, it's slow. That's the other thing. People see big airplanes coming. I mean, we're coming in at 70, 75-ish on approach speed. So we typically hold 80 to 85-ish in knots. And for the most part, we don't three-point it. It three-points very well, but this will land so well onto the mains. And it does both, but very slow. It had to be for a carrier-based airplane. To make sure they could put it on the deck.
How about stalling? Does it talk to you? Do you get verbal? Does it just do a sync or what?
It stalls like a Piper Cub. It really does. It's very docile. When you watch the old World War II manuals, it's funny. They're like there is little tendency for the airplane to break off one direction or the other. If it's like most airplanes, if you're not coordinated when you stall, if the ball's to the left, it'll kind of fall left. If the ball's to the right, it'll fall off to the right. But as soon as you turn it loose, it starts flying again. It's just a very docile airplane.
Okay, so it's a lot like the F-35 then, right?
Just like the F-35, yeah. Just a little less avionics.
Okay. Anything else on the walk around we need to talk about? I think you covered some of the big issues. Did they use dive brakes all the time when they head down the hill? I heard that it accelerated pretty quick when you pointed it down.
I think you would have to. It's such a heavy airplane. If they were doing the dive, and of course the dive bombing would be more for your bombs versus your torpedoes. And the steeper you can dive, unlike all the fighters that figure out all the math on hitting a target, the steeper you can dive, and if you could dive straight down, you could take all the math out and you will nail your target, right? So if you're diving at 30 degrees, there's a lot of math to make that not go short or long of the target. So obviously the dive brakes allowed them to have very steep dives. And again, I would love to go up and do some dive profiles with this airplane. It'd be pretty unique to do it. I've done it in the Dauntless before, but yeah, we don't, no really operational reason to go dive.
So dive brakes, they would use them on a regular basis when they pointed down the hill.
Yeah, and you can. Everything works on this airplane. It's authentic, just like it would be in World War II.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to open it up to Ron for a second here because we need to talk a little bit about this event that's going to be happening in August. And Ron could be a little bit more specific about that. But yeah, it sounds like I'm going to be there with Connie. I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing.
We're going to put you to work, Ed.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. I'm hoping I can just go see an air show.
Okay.
But Ron, tell us about what's going on up there at your museum.
Yeah, on August 16th and 17th, I believe is the date. We're calling it an air event. And it's for the 250th anniversary of the Navy and the Marines. We're not including the Army on this one because that's all we ever did is Army stuff. We're going to lock all the Army airplanes up. We won't even let them out of the hangar. It's going to be a field of blue, and a lot of these blue airplanes that are here are going to be there. They're coming from all over the country, and we're going to have airplanes not only World War II, but we're going to have all the way up to Korean and Vietnam Navy aircraft there too. So, and we'll have a lot of reenactors and things like that. And we're going to fly the airplanes. People can come and see them fly, watch them start up, and do some formation flying and just make a lot of noise. And then we might even open up the aerobatic box that runs parallel to the runway. The airport, by the way, our airport in Granite Falls will be closed to general aviation. It's going to be a closed airport just for the airplanes. Not an air show, not being billed as an air show, but it's going to be closed, so no general traffic. You get aviation, you got to go to a different airport just because we don't have ramp space. Very small airport. But so we're looking to have fun, and we're going to have Don McPherson there. From what Don told us, and he's a member of the American Ace Association, is that he's the last living World War II ace, and he'll be there from Adams, Nebraska. Don lives on a farm at 103, drives in for coffee into town from his farm every morning. Then he'll take a 70-mile ride down the interstate downtown Lincoln, Nebraska to see his doctor at 103. He's amazing. So we're hoping things, we thought he was going to make it here, but he thought he better save some energy. So anyway, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And some guys will be able to will have the right people there. We'll fly off some low altitude waivers and different things like that. So we'll have something. We'll have, small town airport. But we have a lot of people that come in and be a lot of things to see, and then walk through the museum, and you can see the locked up Army Air Corps planes in their hangar. We'll let them loose.
Are you going to let Ray fly something? Are you going to be flying up there? Oh, I think so.
Maybe.
Huh? Maybe?
Yeah.
Give you the keys to something.
Ray will be there flying this thing.
Okay, good deal.
I'm not sure what he'll be flying something. I know that.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah. So we thank you folks that have been there before, and you want to come up and see the event. That'll be a real nice deal. And we got Ryan Christopherson, 400 carrier landings. He'll be there speaking along with Don. And
sounds like a great show. That's all I can say.
It'll be a fun
really
time. Yep.
So yeah, Granite Falls
and my wife Diane and Evan and his wife Melissa, they put it all together. They just let Ray and I fly their airplane.
We just show up.
And then blame you if something goes wrong, right? Yeah.
They don't even blame me anymore. They don't even pay attention to me.
Well, thank you to you and Diane. And I look forward to the show. It should really, really be good. Before we go into questions, I'm just going to ask Paul to stand up just for a second and give him a mic for a minute. We're going to cut you off after about 2 minutes, Paul. But you can talk a little bit about your dad and being a backseater in this thing and those perspectives. So, Paul, go ahead.
1, 2, 3. Okay. So growing up, he got me involved with aircraft, and as I got older, he showed me some of the things he flew in. He was a backseater. He was based in Camp Kearney and stateside. He was only 16, 17, 18. Sun Oil Company as a ditch digger held his position, and when he came back through the GI Bill, he became the corporate architect for Sun Oil Company. Mr. Fagen, thanks for all that you've done for me. I just noticed on the cow, 3/15 is my birth date.
Perfect. And you did that on purpose, didn't you, Ron? Yeah.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
But nothing to take away from the Helldiver being an aerodynamicist, aircraft designer, having worked at Grumman, Lockheed, Boeing, F-22, F-35. My dad also flew in PB-4Y2, the privateer, and I asked the crew chief up there how many were crew, and he said 11. And I said, well, then there were 8 that didn't know why Glessner was being called to the front. The captain was letting them fly it, up and down the coast of the West Coast. And he just had a great time. Side story to all this, I'm in LA, and this restaurant, Michelli's, my friend owner, he says, hey, Brian Cranston just went out the side door. So I went out and shook his hand. I came back, and these 2 guys were standing there. And it was Brian Cranston's brother and his father flew Helldivers. Like my father was a crew member in the back towing banners for the pilots to shoot up. But Mr. Cranston, he was a pilot pulling it, and he said, of course, the pilots would aim for the cable so then they could screw off with the gas. Okay.
All right. We're gonna open it up to some questions here right now. Thank you, Paul, by the way. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. All right, we got a few minutes left, and I'm sure you all have got some questions. So go ahead. We got anybody out there wants anything to know? Oh, there's one in the corner over there.
I got one over here.
We apologize for not having our maintenance guy Brandon here. He's the real expert, and I talked to him last year at length. And yeah, maybe we can get him out here again sometime. But in the meantime, go ahead up there.
Just a quick question. Curious what the backseater really did. Was he just a gunner? Was he a navigator, bombardier? You know, talk a little bit more about his role.
My father went to a lot of training. I want to say Tennessee or so, but he did a lot of
gunnery training. Okay. And the gun, it's not like a ball turret back there. It's on a rail, isn't it? Does it move?
Yeah, it goes 360 degrees.
Yep.
You know, moves around, and you can, like right now, it's stowed back there. And you bring it back out and pops up, and you can whip around. And I'm sure they're careful not to shoot the tail.
Yep.
And but it's plenty of visibility, and also the radio gunner.
Yeah. So he ran the radios back there. He shot the gun back there, and just decided, you know, hey, if there's somebody shooting at him, he's going to shoot back.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you. Somebody else. Okay, in the corner there. Go ahead.
Something I noticed about the Helldiver in particular, it has a very rounded rudder, unlike something like a Mustang or a Corsair, where it's a bit more flat on the end. Is there a reason they went with that?
I would say so if you look at the P40, I think this is like designed for the engineer. So it's very Curtiss. So you look at the rounded tail for the P40, before that like the P36 and some of the early airplanes. I think that's part of it. Once you get to like the Mustang and the airplanes that were in the 400 and 500 mile an hour range, they started squaring those off just for pure aerodynamics. And obviously these airplanes could never get to those speeds. So I'm certain it's just some engineering. And it's like anything, it's a very heavy airplane. So, and when they were loaded, that rudder is very important. Now, when you're landing on a carrier deck, you're always landing into the wind for the most part, right? So you're not worried about making the airplane go straight, but you're happy to have that little extra rounded rudder when you're landing in a crosswind with this airplane, which we can't always go land into the wind now. Yeah. So I'm certain that's probably part of it. It's my guess, unless you know of any other thing, Ron.
Yep. Nope. All right, thank you. Anybody else? Oh, there's one up there.
Thank you. Thank you guys very much for bringing this plane. We really appreciate it. Do you guys have any projected time of departure today, or will it make a pass or anything?
We won't make a pass because we have to leave as a part of the regular show, but literally once we'll field some other questions once they close the program out, and we'll stand around the airplanes, but as soon as they hook this airplane out and get it out, we're going to start pressing that direction. So I would guess in the next 45 minutes we'll be starting to go fly. But we'll take off right now unless something changes. We'll take off. You'll see us, but they'll make us turn out and go down the lakeside, so won't let us make a pass. We would love to, but that might make everybody else mad at us.
So if you want pictures, make them quick because, it's going to be out of here. But then if you want to see it again, just go to the show.
We'll fly it a
August.
lot in Granite Falls. You'll get some pretty – and what's neat about that is, again, there'll be 2 of everything that flies, so there'll be some very unique formations that hopefully you've never seen before at that event.
Okay, I think we're getting close. Anybody else out there? Okay, Paul, one more.
One thing, my dad was number 2 of 5 boys, and his brother flew the Dauntless. Not the Dauntless, the Dauntless.
Avenger, TVM Avenger, or the SBD Dauntless. One of the 2 of those.
Okay.
Cool.
So it's in the family, so to speak.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, any more? All right, in that case, I'm going to say, Ron, thank you for your dedication.
Yeah, thanks.
Ray,
Thanks, General.
thank you for your abilities. And yeah, thanks for bringing the airplane here, keeping this. What's Connie say? Keep them flying. Keep them flying, as you say.
Okay.
So thank you both. And folks, thank you so much. And I guess Connie doesn't want a speaking part. The next show, Veterans Parade is at what time did we say? 12:30. 12:30 Veterans Parade here, and we've got one more show tomorrow morning.
Okay, we'll get this off and then
in the morning, and that's the Bonanza that's out there, believe it or not. And it's a Vietnam painted up, and it actually flew in the Vietnam War. So, folks, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. See you next time.
Tell them to keep laughing. Thank you again. Really appreciate you. Yes. I'm at the headquarters in Dallas. So I'm here till Monday, and then after that, we'll go down and go down. So. All right. Thank you.
So I've been watching your production at night.
probably gonna have to move. Yeah, because he's gonna bring it right in here.
So can you bring it? Yeah. Is that, are you online? Yes. You are?
Yes.
Oh, I could have taken you offline. And your camera mic. I knew that. Put a washing machine. Read the book.
How long until the next show?
I think we're doing a Veterans Parade over here.
No, I'm at here. Is it over for today or something?
Yeah, it's just for the parade.
Okay. If I go to air2air.com, then I can join your thing and see these shows that you guys put together.
Yep. For this year and then all the other years.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
And right now, I know you can see them on their Facebook.
Okay. Yeah, I was seeing some live, a lot of live stuff, a lot of live streaming from here, all over. So it's really cool now.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
But thanks for doing that. Thank your company for doing that.
Oh yeah, thank you. It's a lot of pleasure for me, and I can't really speak for everybody else, but you know, they take pride in what they do.
Yeah, they do. All right, I'll be joining up shortly.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
I can't see over there.
So he could go back and
made for grass, made to feel the joy of each and every blade. Between our toes, across our backs, to run over its hills, marvel at its beauty, and find comfort in its stillness. We were made for grass. It's where we battled and celebrated, built monuments, grew families, forged memories, and pushed ourselves farther than ever before. We were made for grass, to care for, nurture, and cultivate. We've always made sure to have a patch of our own, because there's no greater feeling than being on the grass, except leaving it.
Lead do you have?
On January 17, 1942, Chief of U.S. Army Air Forces Henry H. Hap Arden assigned the responsibility for one of President Franklin D. Roosevelt's highest military priorities, a payback attack on the Japanese home islands, to one of the most famous aviators in history, Lieutenant Colonel James H. Doolittle. In a mere 66 days, Doolittle had identified the airplanes that could be modified to launch a carrier-based attack some 450 miles from Japan, had assembled the volunteer crews, modified the Mitchell B-25s to give them the range to reach a safe haven in free China after the raid, and accomplished the mapping and charting the crews would require. Now on March 23, 1942, Doolittle assembled the men who had been training for the mission at their training base near Fort Walton Beach, Florida. It was time to fly the planes west to the Sacramento, California Air Depot for final adjustments. As he had before, Doolittle offered any man who wanted to the ability to leave the highly dangerous mission without recrimination. None did.
You don't take off on a mission like this without a light at the end of the tunnel. We all thought that somehow we'd get out of it.
Well, in the training in Florida, we were always flying just above the water all the time, right down over the river valleys and between the trees. And then we head stopped all the way across the United States to Alameda down the hill we would fly.
Yeah, I think Bill asked me if I would go as his co-pilot, and I said, of course.
Somewhere along the line, they interjected the thing that it was a suicide mission. I don't think it was any more of a suicide mission than guys taking off from England, going over to Germany. It was just signs of the times, and that's the way it had to be. And that's the way it was, and that's the way it was accepted.
I'm Gary Sinise, and this is Missions That Changed the War.
me, lawn service is a scam.
There's no lawn service for you.
Unfortunately, I don't trust them very much because I don't know what they're putting down.
Nobody's going to pay attention to your lawn like you do.
It's the whole point of owning a home is that you maintain your own lawn.
We've taken care of this lawn from day one.
I take pride in it, and when people tell me it looks good, it makes me feel even better.
Do you use a lawn service?
Absolutely not. I have you.
I know what I'm putting down now. It's got stuff.
ready.
It's not great for you.
Stuff it off there.
Okay.
I'm going to go use the restroom.
STS-27 was my third launch, and it was only the second launch after the Challenger misses. Well, I will never forget it. We maneuvered the arm. Mike Mullane was my arm operator, so he moved the arm over there and brought up the television image of the right wing. And I looked at what I was seeing, and I said to myself, we are going to die.
Plants aren't so different from us, are they, Ryan?
Plants need food like humans need food.
And that's right, and they do tell us what they need, like this really good organic honey from Miracle-Gro.
It's just as important. Soil, sunlight, and water. Ryan, philosopher.
And you know what this one is telling me? She needs a spicy margarita and a lounge chair by the pool. These peppers look angry, Ryan. Feed them, don't just stand there. We started this controversy about whether this is dirt or soil.
Everyone's all up in arms about it.
So what do you call it?
You say dirt, I say soil, you say soil.
When do I say soil? I never say soil.
You just did.
less evil. And though I gave you a quick death, it was not merciless. It was ortho ground clear weed and grass killer.
Ortho ground clear kills really fast and for organic gardening. Speed you can trust.
So he comes back in a few minutes with a guy about his age. This is Camp Commander. And I said, this was Saturday morning. I said, oh yeah, these guys were out drinking beer last night. And I said, oh, we're going to have some fun with a new guy. He says, he asked, will you write your autobiography? I said, no. They talked about Vietnamese. He says, he asked you one last time? I said, no. They talked about he orders you to write your autobiography. I take my orders from the Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force. He talked all over in Vietnamese. He says, one more time? I shook my head. And the camp commander looks up in very good English and says, you will be very sorry. Got him walked out. 2 or 3 minutes later, there's a big guy comes in, the biggest Vietnamese I saw. And they put me on the ground. I got behind me, I couldn't do it again. My life depended on it. My palms were together behind my neck. I could scratch my neck. And they put Vietnamese handguns right there. And they walked out. And I thought, yeah, this is a big deal. About 5 minutes later, my hands were numb, my arms were numb. Shortly, my shoulders were numb. Pretty soon, my chest was numb. And it proved, for me at least, the whole point was, we can make you do it. What that sergeant had said, we'll show you that we run this camp. You'll do what we tell you to do. Down that night, when you were asked, this was really my low point. When I got that deal, realized that I had been broken. And so I leaned up against the wall, just slumped down. And there was one light way over in the corner. And I looked up and it just kept attracting my attention. And I remember thinking, it was like Moses in the burning bush, I guess. And I sat there and I looked at the light. And whether it was a split second or an hour, I can't tell you. But I had an experience of something happened to me. And it was all over. I feel very comfortable, very secure. You're going to live, you're going to get out of this, and you'll go home someday.
What do you love the most about service? Camaraderie. Everybody is friends, everybody helps each other, and we're all very professionals and have a great time.
Some say we're crazy, and I put it for we have a deep conviction and a commitment to the skills and practice we love.
Came for the airplanes and the races, we can come back with it.
Section 3 people were just all over me wanting me to autograph every part of their body, and it was just a great night. Section 3.
You like F1, you like Warbirds, you like jets, you just like tinkering your airplanes. This is the place.
What's the best part about that?
Everything.
It's the people who makes it easy.
Whole lot of love.
Whole lot of love.
Whole lot of love.
Whole lot of love.